say today we find out that bloody Bridget Phillipson, who seems to have been sort of honed out of the Marxist school of rewriting history, wants to completely change the school curriculum and make it more diverse and make it less about, you know, a monoculture, i.e. British culture, and turn it into something that nobody's going to recognise.
Prepared to understand what is happening with the education system in the UK. What may appear as an effort to improve education could in fact be a strategy to ideologically indoctrinate the next generation. The taxation of private schools, the reshaping of the curriculum to promote diversity and multiculturalism, and the growing social division are just the tip of the iceberg. Is education truly focused on learning and critical thinking, or is it aimed at shaping a uniform ideology? Stay with us until the end to find out. If you care about the future of education and want more people to be aware of this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with those who need to stay informed about this crucial change. The primary goal of the education system should be to impart to children the best of the knowledge accumulated by humanity. However, a growing trend within progressive sectors seeks to use education as a tool for ideological indoctrination, prioritizing topics like multiculturalism and diversity over essential subjects such as history, mathematics, and English language. This approach raises concerns about the neutrality and effectiveness of teaching in British schools and the direction in which the education system is heading. Take, for instance, the recent decision to remove VAT exemptions for private schools in the UK. Presented as an attempt to equalize opportunities and fund improvements in the public education system, this measure reveals a deeper agenda: to centralize control over education and, by extension, influence future generations ideologically. The government's decision to tax private schools, claiming that the £1.7 billion raised will be used to improve state schools, seems to be part of a broader plan. At first glance, this might sound like an action in favor of the majority, but a closer look reveals a strategy aligned with the concept of disguised indoctrination masquerading as reform.
You know, this is a really disastrous suggestion from Bridget Phillipson because, firstly, education is supposed to be about communicating the best of knowledge to kids. It's not supposed to be about brainwashing them into the ideology of multiculturalism or the ideology of diversity.
The government's justification includes promises such as hiring more teachers and improvements for students with special needs.
I recognise that a lot of parents work hard to be able to send their children to private schools, but all parents are aspirational for their children, including the 94% of children who are in our state schools. And so by getting rid of the tax exemptions that exist before for private schools, we're able to invest £1.7 billion of money into our state schools so that they can recruit and retain the very best teachers so that all children can get a great start in life.
However, experts warn that the increase in school fees could further strain the already saturated public system and force a mass migration of students to state schools. Educational leaders are concerned that this move will lead to a decline in the quality of education, both in the public and private sectors. Critics argue that this policy is, in practice, a looming disaster. Despite the promise of a £1.7 billion injection into the public system, the average annual cost of educating a child in a state school is around £6,500 to £7,000. So, when thousands of children inevitably leave private schools due to inflated fees, where does the government expect them to go? The already overloaded and underfunded state system lacks the capacity to absorb this influx, nullifying any potential financial benefit before it even materializes. Furthermore, children with special educational needs who rely on the specialized support offered by private schools will face a crisis, making the situation even worse for many families. Recently, Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson proposed a curriculum reform aimed at decolonising education. The idea is to eliminate any monocultural view of Britain and replace traditional content with an agenda focused on celebrating diversity. While the intention may seem noble, critics argue that this transforms education into a political tool designed to shape the next generation, which could have profound consequences for society. This practice is not only controversial, but is also considered elitist and potentially harmful for children from disadvantaged communities. Many parents believe that the focus on ideology detracts from critical areas of learning, such as basic skills and preparation for the job market. Instead, children are exposed to messages of self-loathing and historical guilt, which could further divide society.
Education is supposed to be about teaching kids the greatest ideas and the important moments in history, maths and English, and all that solid stuff that will help them get through life. And yet here we have Labour politicising education. And apparently some of the submissions to Bridget Phillipson from the teachers' trade unions have suggested that the curriculum must be decolonised, that we must get rid of, as you say, any monocultural view of Britain and celebrate that diversity, etc., etc. This is the use of education as a political tool to socially engineer the next generation. Let's be truthful about what's happening here.
For example, one parent shared their experience at a public school where their child studied. They described hallways filled with posters promoting progressive organizations and a constant barrage of messages prioritizing self-loathing over the celebration of British history and culture. In their view, this educational approach contributes to a widespread sense of social fragmentation. The issue of division is also evident in other areas. Today, many communities in the UK live in ethnic bubbles, with little interaction between different cultural groups. By prioritizing diversity and downplaying the importance of a shared national culture, the education system exacerbates these divisions. Schools should unite children, regardless of their backgrounds, fostering a sense of common belonging. Unfortunately, the path chosen by the Labour Party seems to be heading in the opposite direction. This same pattern of division and guilt can also be seen in other aspects of British life, such as within the royal family. King Charles's Christmas speech, which praised the role of multiculturalism in recovering from the summer riots, is cited as an example of a narrative that perpetuates historical guilt at the expense of national pride.
And there's a class war element to all of this. You know, a couple of weeks ago, Labour announced that it was scrapping Latin in state schools so that, you know, why on earth would poor and working class kids want to learn Latin? Let's leave that to the posh kids at private schools. And the poor kids can just learn about how to do graffiti or why it's important to be diverse or why we must all play along with the ideology of multiculturalism. There is this idea that less well-off kids are not capable of important forms of education and instead need to be dictated to. I find it really obnoxious.
Meanwhile, other structural problems continue to affect society. Stories of young people unable to enter the job market and local councils allowing employees to work from abroad reflect a country in decline. Working from idyllic locations, such as Ibiza or Australia, while local services are neglected, is seen as a symbol of the disconnect between administration and the communities it is supposed to serve. Education, which is essential for the development of future generations, should not be a playground for ideological experiments. The priority must be to ensure that all children, regardless of their background or social class, have access to quality education based on knowledge and values that unite them, not divide them. If the education system continues to be politicized, the result will be an even more fragmented country, where national belonging is replaced by ideological divisions. While the government claims that the policy will help ensure the best start in life for children in state schools, experts warn that raising fees in private schools could further burden the already saturated public system. Small private institutions report significant losses in enrollments, and there are concerns that families of children with special needs will be affected. This move, which appears to benefit the majority, can be likened to a Christmas turkey. Well-fed and protected, it believes itself safe, yet its ultimate fate is to be the centerpiece of the feast. Similarly, the removal of VAT creates the illusion that the government is acting in favor of the population, while hiding its true agenda of control and indoctrination through the public education system. Opposition leaders point out that this measure, rather than fostering educational aspirations, harms both independent and public schools, leading to a decline in the overall quality of education. Nevertheless, the government maintains its narrative of raising standards without addressing the long-term negative effects of this policy. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with those who need to stay informed about this crucial change. Thank you.